guys, so I'm here today to talk to you about the pros and the cons of cloth diapering, cloth nappying. And a lot of people have asked me this kind of, or generally all the time, they always ask me what the pros are of cloth nappying, so I'm here to bring them to you. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to talk to you about are I've just got a set of notes so that I can remember, so that's why I keep looking down. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the cost. Now, on average, it probably costs about £2,000 or 2,000, I think it's £2,000, and obviously it'll be a little bit more dollars per child for the whole of their kind of nappying days to use disposables, and that is an awful lot of money. That's probably on average around nearly, if you nappy or if you potty train your child at around the age of 2, it's about £1,000 a year, and that is an awful lot of money. For cloth nappies, you can spend about around £300, I'd say, is the average, and that will ensure that your child has enough nappies to last them for that whole time, as well as possibly nappy another child as well with those nappies. If you use a birth to potty system, then you could have one child in the same nappy that the little tiny one was wearing yesterday. So that's the great thing about cloth nappying. And in that £300 roughly, I would include the cost of the water and your electricity. And your nappy system can cost anywhere as much as you want it to, depending on what kind of brands you use. There's more expensive brands, there's cheaper brands, and you can also look at buying some pre-loved. Pre-loved is definitely not something to turn your nose up against, because a lot of the cloth nappying mums out there really take care of their nappies, and it's much better for the environment to be kind of passing them on to other mums that are trying out cloth nappying. So you can, if you go on Facebook, there's loads of, especially in the UK, there's loads of wonderful pre-loved Facebook pages, and the admins on there are really good with helping you as well if you wanted to sell some of your cloth nappies. Another great thing about using cloth is that there's absolutely no kind of chemicals in them. The disposable nappies do contain kind of gels, like gel crystals inside the nappies that help the nappy to absorb any fluids. Now, I've had a very scary situation where Sebastian, as I've mentioned before, is an incredibly heavy wetter, and one time, because he was so heavy and we couldn't find a kind of nighttime combination nappy for him, that I put him in a disposable, and he wet through so much that the nappy actually exploded, and this is a Pampers nappy, and it exploded, and all the gel crystals were all inside him, like inside, kind of contained in the nappy. So when I opened it up, they were all over the place, and it was horrendous. And there is one particular chemical, I'm not sure which one it is, that was banned in sanitary towels that is in disposable nappies, and that I find quite frightening. I'm not big on that kind of thing. Like, Sebastian still will use, you know, disposables if we're, I don't know, going on, if we just, for whatever reason, if there's something chaotic happening in our lives and I just kind of grab quick disposable, or like he will be using cloth at nursery, but for the first few days that he's going to be there, he is going to be in disposable. So I'm not big on like that kind of thing, but I do think it's something that's worth bearing in mind. I personally couldn't put Sebastian in disposables all the time. I do find as well that he gets terrible nappy rash with the disposables, and he doesn't get that with cloth. With cloth, you can get a different variety of you get a different variety of fabrics. So you can get natural fabrics from cotton, bamboo, hemp, to more kind of man-made synthetic fibres such as microfiber, microfleece. So, but either way, there's no chemicals in them. There's usually all natural dyes as well. So it's definitely a much more, I don't know about safer for your child, but it's just better for their skin. It's generally better for the environment to be using cloth. I'm not like a humongous, massive environmentalist type person. However, I do care for my environment. And one thing I've noticed was that in the duration of time when I think it was my husband was in hospital, I had Sebastian in disposables, and the bin outside absolutely just piled up with just full of nappies. And that was kind of really strange, because I've never had that issue while he's been in cloth. And it's great because I don't have to worry about, you know, we only get the bin change. The bin men only come every fortnight here in the UK because they kind of trying to promote us to do recycling. But the bin was piling up so much I had like nowhere to put like the extra rubbish. So that was really frustrating. Another thing is that I noticed is sometimes I'd be running low on nappies and have to nip out to the shop. And with cloth you don't have to do that because you'll always have a supply of nappies kind of like drying or in the wash, and you can just kind of grab one there and then, and it's just generally so much better for the environment in that respect. Also, I've seen photos of landfill and it was absolutely disgusting. It takes 500 years for one nappy to biodegrade, for one disposable nappy to biodegrade. And if you think about how many nappies your child is going through, plus all the millions of other children in the world, and think of how much space we have in this world for it to like all just be sat in landfill, I think that's kind of gross. And I like the fact that I'm doing my bit for the environment in that respect, that I'm not having to worry about any of Sebastian's nappies being in a landfill for 500 years. Cloth nappies are a couple of degrees cooler than disposables. So if you're worried about the fact that it's going to be a really hot summer and your child's going to be in cloth and you're thinking they might get a little bit hotter, which is sometimes the preconceived idea that people think that children are going to be hotter in them. They're not. It's actually hotter in a disposable. So if you want to keep your child cool, then it's a great way to use maybe a natural kind of bamboo nappy perhaps without a wrap, and that also not only keeps them cooler, but it's also classified as nappy free time because it's breathable. One really good thing as well with cloth diapers is that you're less likely to get rashes. Sebastian never ever has diaper rash, and the reason he doesn't have them is because another, I suppose you could classify it as a con, is that you do have to change their nappies more often. And the reason being is because at the end of the day it is just a fabric that you're using as an absorption, because there's no chemicals to kind of like absorb loads. You can't leave them in a nappy for too long. So Sebastian needs to be changed every 2 hours, and that constant changing, it just means that they're not sat in a dirty nappy for so long, and they are able, and so then diaper rash free. One thing I've noticed with mums who have, and I have to admit I am guilty of it when they are in disposables, they don't change their nappies so often because they think that they're really they absorb a lot. But however, they're still sat in wee, and I just think it's really important to change them a lot anyway. But with cloth you will be doing that, and so you will notice that they are far less, and there's no rashes or hardly any anyway. Cloth nappies are so much prettier. This is one of my favourites that I recently got at the moment, and when I look at these and I look at like a disposable, sometimes I see toddlers toddling around like in the garden on hot summer months, and they've got this kind of dirty plastic nappy on, but not only that, where the wee's kind of like it, especially with the toddlers, the wee's kind of collected and it's kind of like sagging in between their legs, and it just looks so gross. Whereas with these you will not get that, and they will just look so much prettier. They are prettier. That's, I think that's the biggest pro for me. Another good thing is that you can get modern cloth nappies such as this one are so user friendly, which means that you can take them to like a daycare or whatever. This is an Aplex one, and as you can see it does up very, very similar to a disposable. You put it on just like a disposable, and you would dispose of the, I've just got some, you would dispose of this if it was soiled, that would go inside. And this is biodegradable, so it's completely natural, and also if it's just been weed you can wash it again. And then you would just put this in the wet bag. So it's basically very, very similar to using a disposable. It's pretty straightforward. It's kind of like anything, it's kind of like clothes, you may go to like a certain store and they'll fit you very well, or you may go to another one and they don't fit you very well but they fit your friend really well. It's kind of, it can be very, very similar. I tend to find that these pocket diapers tend to fit pretty much all children, and they are also the cheapest. This is an Alpha baby nappy, so it's kind of like what they would call a China cheapie, which some people really don't like the idea of using them, but they are incredibly cheap. You can pick them up for like less than £2, sometimes more, and they come with different fastenings, and they are the most they tend to fit most children. Haven't met a child yet that it doesn't fit. And because they're a pocket with customised absorbency, most of the absorbency can be customised for most children. However, there are other brands out there that people use, such as Totspots is a very popular British brand that a lot of people love. Totspots just do not work for Sebastian at all, and their nappies are about £15 each nappy, and we have a couple of those, and you know, we've bought them thinking they'd be great, and they haven't been. You are going to have to troubleshoot and kind of look and see which nappy system works for you. That's the only con, and that is one thing as well that I think a nappy library is really good for, or even just buying them pre-loved so you don't have to splash out on loads. Just try loads and loads and loads. If you've gone and seen my first cloth, I'm going to link them below for my cloth nappy stash videos, and one of them, if you look at the dates, one of them was what I did when I was pregnant. You'll see how many different types of nappies I had. Then if you see the next one, which is the most recent one, you'll see the kind of nappies that we ended up left with after we figured out which ones out of the original stash worked for us and didn't. Another con, though to me it's not a con, but I'm going to put it in the con section because a lot of people seem to think that cloth diapers are messy, and they don't have to be. I have noticed, I see so many things people writing about, like I'm not on Facebook now, but I used to see loads of things on Facebook about people talking about how their babies were constantly having poo explosions and their babies were pooing out of their like into their clothes, and I'd secretly be laughing at them because I'd be like, oh, we never get that, because we never get poo explosions. That's another really good thing about cloth, is that you won't get them. However, there will be the odd occasion that even though all the poo is contained in the nappy, when you open it up, rather than everything be in the liner, it's kind of all encased inside. And on those situations, if it's breastfed or formula fed poo, you can put it straight in the pair liner. If it's poo that's from a weaning baby, so they've had like diarrhea, you will have to rinse that off. I've only had to do it twice in the 8 months that I've had Sebastian. And with that, what I do is I tend to get the shower head, and luckily the shower will reach our toilet, and I will rinse off the nappy with the kind of jet section. So it's really no big deal. If I was out and about, I'd just literally keep it in the wet bag like that, and then I would do it when I got home, and then again that goes in the pail liner. So as long as you rinse it off like that, I suppose is kind of a bit messy, but like when you have a child, you're dealing with, if you can deal with a big poo explosion out of a disposable where you're bound to be touching the clothes anyway, then you can deal with rinsing off like a bit of poo off a nappy. It's no big deal. But that, again, like I said, is very rare, and poo explosions are very, very rare. Most of the time it's kept in the liner, so you can just chuck the liner in the toilet, which is good. But a lot of people seem to think that you're going to have to touch loads of nappies when you put them in the into the washing machine. You don't. Below I have a video on how to wash cloth nappies, and all you do is you turn the pail liner inside out into the bin, so you don't have to touch any of the nappies. Personally, I have no issue with touching the nappies because it's my son, and I have no, like, I have to clean up his snot and his sick and all sorts, so I've got no issue with it. But some people may, but you will not have to deal with any like gross dirty nappies. Another kind of con is that when you're out and about, you will have a wet bag that will contain the nappies. I don't find them to be particularly smelly or anything like that, because any poo will be put, if you're doing a diaper change, it will be put in the toilet wherever you are, or in the kind of like disposal bin thing. So the nappies don't tend to smell, but they might take up either a lot of room in your bag or kind of in your pushchair or whatever you're using at the time. So that can probably be a bit of a downside, I suppose, but you know, these are just small little hurdles that you might have to kind of get over. Another thing is that you will be doing more washing, though I have to say a lot of people have asked me about the extra washing, and it's no big deal to me. diaper washing is actually really easy because it's all cloth. You wash it, you take it out, you let them dry, and then you sit and fold them. Whereas with clothes, they're the worst because you have to sort them out and then you have to fold them and put them away in different places. With nappies, you don't have to do that. So I definitely think that the normal laundry is a million times worse than the cloth, but you will be doing kind of a wash, I'd say, every other day. I can't think off the top of my head what the other cons are. I think that's pretty much it. I think the biggest con for me was the kind of troubleshooting. But you know, if you're pregnant, you've got 9 months to kind of go and do your research. There's loads of videos on YouTube. I've done quite a few videos on YouTube as well, and it's worth having a look because once you get into it, it's the most fun thing to do. It's really, really simple. It's the best thing that I've chosen to do, and it is really, really easy. If you don't be put off if your child leaks straight away, you may need to either adjust the fit or maybe that nappy doesn't work for them. I've had a lot of friends who've had issues with that. I've had difficulties with Sebastian because he's such a heavy wetter, particularly at night, and we have finally come and found like solutions for dealing with that. So it can be difficult, but I'm just, you know, I'm massive when it comes to promoting cloth nappying. It's so much fun, it's so good, and oh, my phone's going. And yeah, definitely something that you guys should look into. Anyway, sorry for waffling. I've been looking at my notes and trying to think about all these things, and yeah, I'm gonna go now. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.